What is China's common prosperity policy that has Chinese and Western tech elites biting their nails, and why do analysts say Xi is the most Marxist president China has had in its modern
Growing
history?
up, my parents made me believe that the success is paved through suffering. So you need to suffer. You have to for things to work. And there's a French expression that says "l'homme se forme par la peine." If you want to be a desired man in the society, there must be pain that you have to go through. And when it comes to China, it has been a piece of puzzle that so many people have been trying to put together. What could inform this success that these people are having? Like, what could be the idea behind it? Like the video for recommendation, and let's dive into this compilation.
I don't want this sound like a brag, but it might end up sounding like a brag, okay? But mostly just my personal opinion. First of all, I don't think the success is has much to do with the wealth, okay? No matter how much money these people, I don't want this sound like a brag, but it might end up sounding like a brag, okay? But mostly just my personal opinion. First of all, I don't think the success is has much to do with the wealth, okay? No matter how much money these people made, it's not uh, criteria of success. But I do think a lot of overseas Chinese are very successful in terms of they move to a new environment and they have a descendant and they flourish in the new community. In that sense, it's very successful. It's not about the money they make, okay? And I think to answer that question, I will actually tell an anecdote. You know the philosopher in the modern time called Russell, I think Bertrand Russell. Bertrand Russell is a famous philosopher. He was from British England, I believe, but he spent most of the time in the United States. So Western philosopher, okay. So he visited China when he in the I think 30 or 40s, 1940. Let's say just 1940, not critical. So he was visiting one of the uh, Taoist famous mountain. I believe it's either Emei in Sichuan. Not important as well, but it's important that the mountain is very high, very steep. So to get on the mountain at that time, it actually was lifted by people manually. Maybe 4 people will lift one up. So he was sitting there and watching this Chinese who was all they do was lifting people up manually by labor, just 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 the lowest possible way of making a living. Like you literally just carry people to a very high places, and very tiring. Okay, and he was sitting there, and just as a philosopher, naturally just just come to some kind of conclusion like this is the least uh, way of fulfilling a person's uh, life, like just manual labor, meaning. Now, no, there's no meaning in that labor. That's what he comes into conclusion. But and then he wrote down his confusion, like when they all come to a place to take a rest, and those labor Chinese who's doing the hard labor, sitting together, talking and laughing, genuinely happy. He genuinely didn't understand how can they be so happy, living a life that just don't have meaning. Like you are just laboring all day, the hardest labor, no fun. But then what's that fund come from? So that's all he observed. I don't think he ever come to any conclusion. But as a Chinese reading that, I almost laughed. Right? It's very laughable. Right? He doesn't understand. He has no way to understand. Like I can understand those people because I can be easily one of them, and just making a living by carrying other people. I can be doing that. Okay, right now I have a PhD, I have a JD, I have a patent attorney work that don't require me to literally carry somebody to a mountain to make a living. But if I have to, I will do that, and I will do that exactly like I'm doing my job, because I'm doing that for my kids, for my family. I make some money, and my family can have a better life. And that's meaningful. It's not carrying somebody from low place to higher place. That's not the meaning we are searching for. We're searching for making a living so that our descendant can have a better living. That's the essence of Chinese thinking. Okay, so there's no lower job. I could literally do any job in the world as long as I can make a living. My kids can make a good living, and I will be very happy. Like, even it's very miserable. The job might make me very miserable, but the fact that I can support my family will make me the happiest person in the world. And that is what Russell doesn't understand. He saw those people are so happy, happier than he ever can be, doing a job that he will never even try. He doesn't understand. Chinese understand. And that, I believe, contribute to a lot of success of Chinese people.
The Common Prosperity Policy is a state-led push to reduce inequality and reorient private wealth towards social goals, implemented through prioritizing raising incomes for low-income groups, expanding the middle class, and curbing super high incomes, and cracking down on black market. It's one of Xi's most repeatedly emphasized policies in hopes of achieving this by 2035, fully concretizing it by 2050. Zhejiang province was declared a pilot zone in 2021 for this policy, with targets starting to show success now in narrower income gaps between urban and rural areas, higher wages, and more public housing and social spending. Common prosperity is also having a positive effect on China's environmental regulations, also in Zhejiang and beyond. Environmental agencies were once weaker political actors in China, usually ignored by local governments or companies with strong political connections. But agencies like Central Leading Small Group on Ecological and Environmental Protection Supervision, they now have more authority to push far stricter environmental policy and carbon reduction measures. Radical changes happening in the housing market also, which was highly decentralized in China since the 90s. But in 2016, Xi proposed that houses are for living in, not for speculation. Over the following years, the CCP and central government adopted a wide range of policies to regulate the housing market. Across China, the CCP implemented new rules on anti-monopoly, data, and financial risk. Since 2020, they've been doing regulatory sweeps, heavily fining and cracking down on real estate, tech, and finance moguls and enterprises like Chinese fintech multinational Ant Group and platforms like Alibaba in order to align with the Common Prosperity agenda. This sudden policy pivot showed that party priorities can and will override private profit. Tech founders and investors have become more cautious now, with sudden divestments and CEOs stepping back and a new emphasis on compliance to common prosperity, because if they don't, the CCP will fucking arrest their ass. The seeds were first planted in 2017 when Xi declared before China's Congress that they were entering a new era, beginning a shift from the opening up period of internationalization and market reforms that started under Deng and brought rapid but unbalanced economic growth to China. She has repeatedly instructed party institutions to study and adapt Marxism and elevate Marxist education as strategy. Commentators and scholars have noted the reinsertion of Marxist vocabulary, a drive to reassert party control over private firms, like having CCP branches and companies, and a framing of wealth redistribution as a socialist requirement.
Chinese people should work less hard. The wicked cannot rest. As a Chinese, I'm not even one of the hard-working Chinese, but I understand why there are so many hard-working Chinese, okay? And when I working hard, I know exactly why. Okay, it's because we all witnessed and lived through poverty like nobody had before. Okay, so I couldn't describe to you, like I couldn't describe to my kids what kind of life I live at their age. They just wouldn't understand. And I can just say poverty, right? But there's a lot of things about poverty. So you wake up and you experience the poverty, and every minute you are experience the fact that because you are in poverty, there are all these other things you cannot do, cannot experience. That kind of feeling is a function as a purpose. Like how if you see a purpose in front of you, you can just work hard, because now working hard is not that tedious because it has a purpose. So our purpose is get away from the poverty. And the fact that we experience the poverty make that purpose just so clear. So it make hard working very easy, even for lazy people like me.
If we need illegal aliens to do the jobs Americans won't do, who did all these jobs before we had illegal aliens?
This is like a dark comedy from hell.
There's only one way for China to surpass US. Let me guess. It must be the Hamilton way, by working a lot harder, by working a lot smarter.